Hi dear students, today we will discuss the second part of our chapter, that is coordination and response. In this part we will also discuss the paper 1, and this part is actually the human eye. So in order to attempt this paper, it is very much important for all of you to have a strong grip on the structure and the function of different parts of an eye. So when you will have a good understanding of the structure and the specific components of an eye and how they are performing the functions in human eye, so it would be easy for you to attempt all these questions. So the first MCQ is, which structures cover the pupil at the front of an eye, human eye? So there are four options: conjunctiva and cornea. Option B is conjunctiva and sclera. Option C is cornea and retina. Option D is retina and sclera. So when we will see the structure of an eye, so in the diagram you have the first membrane, first single cell membrane, that is called conjunctiva, and just after this single cell membrane there is a transparent membrane which is called cornea. So just after these two structures there is a pupil. Pupil is actually a hole which is present between the two iris muscles, and its function is to control the intensity of light. So here in this MCQs, option A is correct, which is conjunctiva and cornea. These are the two structures which cover the pupil at the front of a human eye. The second MCQ is, in which order does light present through these structures in the eye? Option A is cornea, aqueous humor, lens, vitreous humor, retina. Option B is cornea, vitreous humor, lens, aqueous humor, retina. Option C is lens, aqueous humor, cornea, vitreous humor, retina. Option D is lens, vitreous humor, cornea, aqueous humor, retina. Here again, if you label this diagram 2 to 3 times, it would be very easy for you to understand the sequence of all those structures. And in this case we can easily find the different structures through which light passes, and light passes through all those structures which are present in the sequence. Like the first membrane, which is a transparent membrane which is present outside, this membrane allows the light to pass through it. And then there is the aqueous humor, which is a watery material in which some salts are present. So this aqueous humor is very helpful to refract the light. And then there is a lens, and just after lens there is a vitreous humor which fill the eyeball, and it actually maintains the structure of an eye. And then there is the last part which is called retina. So option A is correct. Another question: an antelope is grazing under a tree. It hears men shouting in the distance. What changes take place in the antelope's eyes as it raises its head to look at the man? So we have to find out the changes in the structures of eye which are required to see things on distance. So there are 3 structures which are which you can say undergo different changes. One is ciliary bodies, suspensory ligaments, lenses. So all of these three structures, you must know where they are located and what is their function in the eye to observe or to see different things. Ciliary bodies are actually the ciliary muscles which are present on the both sides of the lens. So when you see things on distance, ciliary bodies relax. When ciliary bodies relax, suspensory ligaments become taut or become tight, right? And then what would be the effect on lenses? So lens become less convex. Why? Because when it is less convex means it becomes thin. Why? Because suspensory ligaments are taut now, which are tighted, and it actually further stretch the lens. As a result, the lens become thin, and this is how it would be less convex. So option C is correct in this case. Ciliary muscles or ciliary bodies relax. That's why whenever you see things on distance, so your eyes become relaxed. Why? Because ciliary muscles, ciliary bodies are relaxed. When we always for example, we see computer or cell for long time, so our eyes become tired. Just because of that, the ciliary bodies are contracted for longer time. So that's why in order to relax our eyes, we see things on distance. We focus on things which are on distance. So another question is, a man stands 10 meters away from a sign and can see it clearly. He walks towards the sign and stops 0.5 meters from it. What changes occur in his eyes so that the sign is still in focus? So now you have to understand here the things that what type of changes actually changes in the structures of an eye when we see things which are close to us, which are near to us. So definitely this MCQ is very opposite to the third one. So ciliary muscles will be contracted. Ciliary muscles contract. Suspensory ligaments will slacken or loose, right? So lens becomes thicker. Why? Because the size of the lens becomes reduced, and as a result it becomes more thicker, and result in light rays refracted will be more. So here in this case option A is correct. Remember, so here what I'm focusing right now is to tell you people that what type of changes occurred in these 3 to 4 structures when you see things on distance and when you see things on very close to you. So if you know the one, it would be very easy for you to understand about the other case. So in this case, both these MCQs are the two scenarios of opposite sides. So there is another MCQs, that is fifth one. Opticians sometimes place drops of a chemical in a patient's eye to keep the pupil wide open. Which muscles contract when this chemical is used? Pupil wide open. This is very important for you. So when pupil wide or when it becomes wide, it is very much important. another MCQ is that is the graph shows the changes in the size of the pupil of the eye as the light intensity of the surroundings is changed. So here is the graph, you can easily observe it. On the x-axis he has given you a diameter of pupil which is in millimeter, and on the x-axis, on the y-axis you have the diameter of pupil, and on the x-axis you have the time or the in seconds. So you can observe this graph, and then we are coming towards the question, between which times is the light intensity increasing? 5 to 10 seconds, 10 to 25 seconds, 25 to 35 seconds, 35 to 40 seconds. When you will see the change in the light intensity, when it changes, because it shows the changes in the size of the pupil of the eye. It means when you can observe it like here, when the light intensity changes, as the light intensity of the surroundings is changed. So here 5 to 10 seconds, is there any change from 5 to 10 seconds? Which times is the light intensity increasing? So it is from 5 to 10 seconds, 10 to 25 seconds, or 20 to 25 seconds, when light intensity increases. Because here we can observe it by analyzing the pupil size, diameter of the pupil. What's going on with the diameter of the pupil? It means when this line is going up, so the size of the pupil is increasing. This graph is actually showing you that the size of the pupil is increasing. And so when the size of the pupil is increased, when you have the less intensity of light, when you have dim light, right? So in this case the graph is going down from the point that is 35 to 40 seconds. So there the graph is coming down, which shows that the diameter of the pupil is now declining, and it is it is the indication of the light intensity to be changed. Because when the light intensity is increased, because he has given you an option that light intensity increasing, so when light intensity will increase, as a result the diameter of the pupil will decrease, and it occurs when there is a bright light, when there is the increase in the intensity of light. So in this graph, the declining part of the graph, which it shows that the light intensity increasing, and if you will observe this from with time, so you can easily analyze that it is between 35 to 40. So option D is correct in this case, right? Option D is correct. Now you have another case. The diagram shows the appearance of the side view of the lens when it focuses on objects at different distances from the eye, which shows the appearance of the lens when a person focuses first on a near object and then on a distant object, right? Diagram shows the appearance of the side view of the lens is when it focuses on objects at different distances from the eye, right? So that's why I read this MCQs again, because you have to read this 2 to 3 times to have the better understanding, which shows the appearance of the lens when a person focuses first on a near object. It means the person has focused on something that was very near to it, right? And then on a distant object. So near object when you will see something on that is very near to you, so what would be the change in the lens? So the lens will be thick when you see things which are very near to you, right? Because that becomes more convex. So here a Q, option Q is the diagram Q is will be the case when you see things which are near to you, right? So distant object, the second part is distant object. So when you see things on distance, at that time the lens becomes thin. When it becomes thin, when it becomes dilated, right? So here option P is correct. So on distant object, the diagrams, if we observe the diagrams, the diagram which is labeled P, that is correct. So now come towards the options. So in options, option C is correct, that is QP. Are you getting this point? So I think it's very easy. So here again you have to focus on the changes in the lens when we see things on distance and when we see things which are close to us, right? So when lens become thick and when lens become thin. So if you will understand this concept, so it would be easy for you to attempt such type of questions which are here. Another question is, the diagram shows a section through the eye. You have 4 parts. In the pupil reflex, which row gives the sides of the effectors and receptors involved? In the pupil reflex, there is a pupil reflex, which row gives the site of the effectors and receptors involved? Effector. So the first thing is you have to label all these 4 parts. What are these different parts which are here? Like one is retina. The one is labeled as or named as retina. 2 is optic nerve. And 4 is ciliary bodies or ciliary muscles, and 3 is iris. So now you have to find out which one is effector and which one is receptor. So receptor is very simple, because photoreceptors are present in the retina, rod and cone cells. So it means the function of the reception or the receptor is one, that is retina, right? 1 as a receptor. So now if as he's given you the effector here, so effectors are always muscles. So it means option 4 labeled as ciliary muscles, right? So ciliary muscles are the effector, right? So it is 4, so 4 1, it means option C is correct, right? Which one is receptor? Why we can say the retina is receptor? Because retina has the different types of cells which are photoreceptors, like cone cells, like rod cells. These are 2 major cells, but there are many other cells which are present here. So this is how option C is correct. How is the shape of the lens is changed when the eye focuses on a distant object? It is very similar MCQs. We have already discussed this in previous MCQs. So how is the shape of the lens changed when the eye focuses on a distant object? When you see things on distance, so what happens to the lens, as well as we can say what type of changes occur in the lens, yes, and different other structures that we just given you, like ciliary muscles. What happens to the ciliary muscles when you see things on distance? Ciliary muscles become relaxed. That's it. So when ciliary muscles relax, suspensory ligaments pull tight, right? And as a result, what happens to the lens? Lens pulled in. It means option C is correct here. Again, option C is correct, because when we see things on distance, our ciliary muscles become relaxed, and the ligaments, which are called suspensory ligaments, which actually hold the lens, those suspensory ligaments pull tight. When they pull tight, it means they are stretching the lens. And as a result, lens becomes thin. So here option C is correct, right? Then you have MCQs 10. The diagram shows a section through an eye. Again, first you must label all these parts. For example, the 1 is labeled as iris, 2 is labeled as cornea, is it? And 3 is labeled as lens, and 4 is labeled as ciliary bodies. Again, which parts help to focus an image on the retina? Which parts help to focus an image on the retina? Okay, so like which parts are involved here? It means iris is involved, because iris actually when it it's radial and circular muscles contraction, relaxation, it actually controls the light intensity, because light intensity is when it will strike on the retina, so it helps to form an image. So it means iris is involved here. So now find out the second one. 3. It means 1 and 3. These are two structures which are involved to focus an image on the retina, right? So 1 and 3 only in this case. 1 and 4. 4 is not very much directly involved. There is contraction, relaxation. It may actually to make this lens thick and thin, but the major you can say the function of specifically image formation, these are the two structures, 1 and 3. So option A is correct, 1 and 3 only, right? So what happens in the eye when a person walks from a dark room into the sunlight? When you are going from the dark room to the outside into the bright light, what type of changes occur in the eye? And when I'm saying the changes occur in the eye, so it means we have to find out the different parts or the components of the eye, what type of changes occur. So again, when you're going out to see a bright light, what happens? Circular muscles of the iris. What happens to the circular muscles of the iris? So first we have to establish that the what type of change that occurs in iris are on the pupil. What would be the size of the pupil at the when you're going outside in the bright light? Pupil size which structure contains muscle fibers that contract in response to sudden changes in light intensity? Okay, so A, B, C, D. Right. Diagram shows the section through a human eye. Which structure contains muscle fibers? So which structure contains muscle fibers here? Option D, because option D is a ciliary muscles. So these ciliary muscles are actually contract or relax when sudden changes in the light intensity, right? Ciliary muscles are the muscle fibers. Here iris is also given here, yes, in B, iris. And you have A is first you can label all of these structures. A is ligaments, right? Suspensory ligaments. B is iris. C is lens, okay, and D is yes, D is what? D is muscle. We have already defined these these structures, and in all of them there are two muscles are here, right? So ciliary muscles and iris. So he has asked you the question that which structure contain muscle fibers that contract in response to sudden changes in light intensity? Contract when sudden changes in it. He is not talking about the contract, which one is contract and which one is relaxed. So that's definitely when we say the iris. So in case of iris, we have two types of muscles: the radial muscles and the circular muscles. They contract and relax in order to narrow or widen the size of the pupil. But in this case, he is saying if the intensity of the light is changing, what happens to the muscle fibers? That is given you a condition of contraction. So it means option D is correct. Option D is correct because ciliary muscles are there. They will relax or contract. So when light changes, for example, light intensity, you are in the dark room, and when you are going out in the light, in the bright light, right? So there you will see the pupil size will decrease, right? So pupil size will decrease. So it means you are observing something on distance, or and you are observing something very close to you. That's the case in which the ciliary muscles contract and relax. So which structure contain muscle fibers that contract in response to sudden changes in light intensity? So that is iris, because in iris there are some fibers, muscle fibers, which contract when there is a change in the light intensity. When you see things on distance, or when you see things which are close to you, that is carried out by the ciliary muscles, right? They contract and relax, and it shows it increases or decreases the size of the lens. But here, when the light intensity is going to change, so here there should be the change in the pupil size. When you are in bright light, pupil size will decrease. When you are in the dark, pupil size will widen. It means the iris muscles are involved here. In iris there are two types of muscles: the radial muscles and the circular muscles, right? When you are changing the light intensity, whether you are in the light or whether you are in the dark. So both in these cases, different muscle fibers will contract and relax. So option B is correct here, right? So option B is correct. So in this MCQs, A is correct. Alright. Okay, now another MCQ is the graph shows how the diameter of the pupil of a person's eye changed during the course of 2 minutes. The graph shows how the diameter of the pupil of a person's eye changed during the course of 2 minutes. Pupil diameter, and here in the x-axis you have time, and on the y-axis you have the pupil diameter. So what happens to at the point X with the pupil diameter? It is going to increase. The first it was static, it was same. So what happens to the light intensity at X, at which muscles began to contract? Yes, what happens to the light intensity at X? Light intensity increase. Is it increasing? Okay, iris muscles contracting. Which one? Circular, radial, circular or radial? Which one will increase? Again, it is related to the light in when you are in light and when you are in dark. So if the first thing we have to establish here is the light intensity increases or decreases. Light intensity decreases. Why? Because pupil diameter is going to increase. When the pupil diameter increases, it means that the light intensity decreases. Light intensity decreases, right? And then when the light intensity decreases, the pupil diameter increased. So when pupil diameter increase, whether due to the radial muscles or the circular muscles, so the size of the pupil, the dim light becomes enlarged due to the contraction of the radial muscles. Due to the contraction of the radial muscles. When radial muscles contract, right, so the light intensity is decreased. As the result of the radial muscles contract, and the size of the pupil becomes enlarged, right? So it means the option B is correct. Option B is correct. You have to observe this graph very carefully. Pupil diameter is increasing from the point of X. So when pupil diameter increased, the first thing that comes in your mind, that should come in your mind, that is the light intensity decreased. The first thing that we have established here. Then the next point is how pupil size increased, and which are the muscles involved in this case. So definitely he has also put a condition that iris muscles contracting. So radial muscles which are present in iris, which will contract when the pupil size increased, right? So option B is correct. A person is sitting in a dark room. What happens in the eye when a light is switched on? Okay, I think all the questions are very similar to each other, and we can easily handle them. A person is sitting in a dark room, as you are, for example, any one of you who is sitting in the dark room. When suddenly light is switched on, so what happens to the size of the pupil and the circular muscles of the iris? So definitely when suddenly light switched on in the room, so definitely the size of the pupil will decrease. Right? and when we establish this concept, it means in the bright light, or when there will be light, so the size of the pupil will decrease, right? So now what happens to the circular muscles of the iris? So the circular muscles of the iris will contract. Circular muscles of the iris will contract when the size of the pupil decreases. So it means the option A is correct in this case. Again, you have to understand what happens to the iris muscles, like circular or radial, when you are in light or when you are in dark, right? In a similar way, another concept is when you see things on distance and when you see things which are close to you, what happens to the size of the lens, what happens to the ciliary muscles, and what happens to the suspensory ligaments. So when you will understand these concepts, definitely you can apply these concepts again and again on the papers, in practice. So it would be easy for you to remember all these concepts. The diagram shows a section through a human eye. Which structure contains the muscles which contract to produce a focused image on the retina? Okay. Which structure contains the muscles which contract to produce focused image on the retina? You have A, suspensory ligaments, you have D, iris muscles, you have C, you have B. So in this case, again you have to understand one thing, that focused image on the retina, it means that here you have to apply the concept, you are seeing things on distance or which are close to you. So in that case, you have to focus on the ciliary muscles. Which structure contains the muscles which contract to produce a focused image on the retina? Focused image on the retina. So it means when you see things which are close to you, so ciliary muscles will contract. Focused image. So it means your option B is correct here, because ciliary muscles will contract when you see things which are close to you, and that will produce a focused image on the retina, right? When ciliary muscles will contract. So when ciliary muscles will contract, as a result the size of the lens will decrease. It will become more convex. When it will become more convex, so more focused image will form on the retina, right? So option B is correct in this case. Okay, what happens to these structures when focusing on an object near the eye? Again, what happens to these structures when focusing on an object near the eye? When something is very near to you and you want to focus on that, what happens to the ciliary muscles? So definitely ciliary muscles will contract. When ciliary muscles will contract, suspensory ligaments will become loose. So ciliary muscles contract and suspensory ligaments looser. So here option B is correct. Remember, when you see things which are close to you, which are near to you, remember your ciliary muscles always contract. That's why when we continuously see something, or when we watch some movie, or when we see something very close to us, so our eyes become tight. Why? Because ciliary muscles remain contract for a long time, right? So option B is correct in this case. Another question is, the diagram shows a section through the human eye. The diagram shows a section through a human eye. Where will an image be detected when a person looks at an object? You have different options. Image be detected. Remember, image be detected. Detection, where detection will occur, will be carried out. B is cornea, C is lens, A is fovea, it is the part of retina, and then you have B, that is optic nerve. So here option A is correct, because A is a point, it is a depression at the dimple in which the number of cone cells are present. So because retina is the layer which is actually which has the number of photoreceptors which are rod in cone cells. So option A is correct in this case. Retina is the part of the eye on which the image of an object or the object is detected, or the image of an object is detected. So another question is, which structures cover the pupil of a human eye? Again, yes, which one? Conjunctiva and cornea. We have already done this MCQs in our previous options. So MCQ number 18, option A, because we know conjunctiva is a single celled layer which is a protective layer present outside of the cornea, and just after cornea there is a pupil. So conjunctiva and cornea, these are the two structures which are present just before the pupil, and option A is correct. The diagram shows a section of a human eye focused on a near object. When you are observing something very near to you, so which parts will change to focus on a distant object? So which part? Again, X is what? X is cornea. W is what? It is what? Aqueous humor. V is what? V is ciliary muscles. Z is what? It is Z. It is lens. And Y is what? It is suspensory ligaments. So he is asking you a question, and in this diagram he has given you the situation when you see things focused on the near object, when you see things which are close to you. But what changes occurred, or which structures will change when you see things which are distant to you? So definitely ciliary muscles will change their structure. Will change means that they will they will contract or relax. So we will establish what in this case we will observe that whether they contract or relax. Then you have the suspensory ligaments, Y, that will tighten or looser, right? So and then there would be a Z, lens will become thick or thin. So it means three structures will change. V, Y, Z. V, Y, Z. So which parts will change to focus on a distant object? So it means the option D is correct here. V, ciliary muscles will relax when you see things on distance, and definitely when ciliary muscles will relax, so suspensory ligaments will contract and lens will become thin, right? So V, Y, Z. Option D is correct in this case. Now you have another MCQs. Which diagram shows how light from a distant object is focused on the retina to form a clear image. Okay, which diagram shows how light from a distant object is focused on the retina to form a clear image? Okay, which one? In this case, option A is correct. Is it? Because lens is thin. Because when you see things on distance, so lens becomes thin, right? Because to get the maximum light intensity in order to get a clear image, and then you have B. No, in B you have a thick lens, so it is not. C is thick lens, not, and definitely there light is also not focusing on the one point. So it means option A is correct. Very simple. Option A is correct. You can there are two things on which you have to focus. The one is the size of the lens should be enlarged, or the lens size is bigger, that becomes thin and enlarged, and then the light should be synchronized. There are two options like B and D. You do not have the synchronized light because light is dispersed here. But in case of A and B, you have synchronized light, because the light which is coming from outside that converges to a single point on the retina. But in A, in case of A, you have a thin lens, which shows that you are seeing or you are observing things on distance. While in B, the lens size is decreased, it is thick, so it is used for the when we see things on which are close to us. So in MCQs in question, he has given you a condition, you are seeing thing on distance. So for this you have correct option A, right? Why A? Because lens is thin, and lens is always thin when you see things on distance. Okay, the diameter of a person's pupil is measured as the light intensity is varied. During which time period does the light intensity increase fastest? Diameter of the pupil and time. So in options what you have, okay, you have to observe here A, B, C, D. During which time period does the light intensity increase fastest? Okay, in case of A, in case of B, the diameter of the person's pupil is measured as the light intensity varied. Light intensity is variable here. So during which time period does the light intensity increase fastest? Here you can observe from shade. Shade is actually gives you some indication about the light intensity. Diameter of the pupil is in A you can see the diameter of the pupil is not much increased, right? And B, what it shows you, the light intensity is increasing. Diameter of the pupil is 8 here in case of B, in case of C. During which time period does the light intensity increase fastest? So what do you think? Option A or D? Which one it should be correct? Okay, we will see it later on. Let's move on the next one. 22. here uh, in this case you can observe by just focusing on the shades which are present here, like 5 to 10, 15 to 30, 35 to 45, 55 to 60. So we have to find out the time period in which the light intensity increase fastest. Yes, you can find out in case of B. In case of B, you can observe that the line is going down very fast. It is in this case, light is going very fast from between 15 and 30, right? And the other side, you have another line in case of D. Light is the diameter of the pupil is this line is more sharp as compared to B. In case of A and C, so definitely in case A of C to these two are the cases when the light intensity is already decreased. It is in dim light, because the diameter of the pupil is looking increased in this case. A and C, both these are excluded from here, but you have to focus on B and D. In case of B, line is going down, it is declining, but this line is not much sharp as compared to D. In case of D, we will see the line which is going down, that is much sharp as compared to B, right? So we can say the light intensity increases fastest in case of D, because the diameter of the pupil is decreasing fastly as compared to B. A and C, in both these cases, light intensity is increasing, right? Diameter of the pupil is actually if the in case of A and C, diameter of the pupil that's going to increase, but in case of B and D, we can see the diameter of the pupil is decreasing. But if we compare B and D again, so we will observe the fastest decline in the diameter of the pupil, that is in case of D, not in B. B line is little bit flat as compared to D. The declining line in case of D, that is more sharp. So we will see the option D is correct in this case. Okay, let's move on the next one. So because it was taking time, so that's why I was saying that because 4 to 5 are remaining, because I have to conclude this video as early as possible so that you may not become bored. Okay, the diagram shows the front part of an eye. Dear students, this diagram shows the front part of an eye: ciliary muscle, lens. Which changes take place in the eye when a person looks up from reading a book to view a distant object? Okay, oh, very simple. Ciliary muscles relaxed. That's why we always say when you are reading something like book, when you are reading book, you should just after 20-25 minutes you should you should look up from reading book to view something on distance. So just because of that, the ciliary muscles will relax, and you will have you will get better stamina. this case option D is correct. Ciliary muscles relaxes and the lens becomes thinner, not thick, right? Remember. So option D is correct in this case. I hope you all are getting this. So I think this one is last, is it? Okay, yes, this one is last. So which changes take place in the iris of the eye when a person moves quickly from darkness into the brighter light? I mean, most of the questions are with the same nature, having different statements. Like, which changes take place in the iris of the eye when a person moves quickly from darkness into the bright light? You are in the dark room, and suddenly you move out into the brighter light. So what type of changes occur? So the first thing that should come in your mind, that is, when you move from dark to the bright light, the pupil size should decrease, right? The pupil size should decrease, and when it will decrease, it means the circular muscles will contract. The circular muscles will contract, and when circular muscles contract, so definitely radial muscles will relax, right? So here you can easily find out the correct option, like circular muscles contracted. Okay, circular muscles contracted, radial muscles relax. You have to start from the diameter of the pupil, because diameter of the pupil decreases when you suddenly exposed to the bright light. Diameter of the pupil decrease. When the diameter of the pupil decreases, so how it will decrease? Because of the contraction of the circular muscles, right? So in this case option B is correct, because circular muscles of the iris contracted and the radial muscles of the iris relaxed when diameter of the pupil decreases. So option B is correct. So I hope you will get the benefit from this video. So although it was long, because actually my target was to complete the whole section, so that you can you can easily go through this whole section and have the better idea and practice about this topic. So that's all for today, and there is one remaining section of this chapter, that is hormones, and we will also practice P1 from there, and then we will move on to P2, and this is how we will complete this chapter. So that's all for today. Thank you very much. God bless you, and stay connected with this channel, so that and stay connected to this channel, that is